Cheers, everybody, and welcome to another episode of your favorite late night Friday night hashcast. It is Variables, episode 57. We are your hosts, Frigoli, Pedro, and Superior Buds. And tonight we have a special guest back, all the way from episode 10 to episode 57. Nick Rakkems. How you doing tonight, brother?
Good, man. Great. Can you all hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah, awesome.
I think we're good over here. Cheers, man. It's been a minute for me, actually, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was 47 freaking episodes ago last time we had you on.
Really? Holy shit.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I think it's been over a year. I believe it was 2023.
Well, he was on the 420 episode, though, as well.
Oh, yeah. Fair. Yep.
This year? Yep, you're right.
Is that this year?
Well, technically, he's been in 2023, I think, and 2024, and now 2025. So I think you're the first one to do that. How about that?
All right, there you go. There you go.
I'll take it.
We've been doing this for that long, I suppose so, huh?
We sure have. Well, we don't need to reintroduce Nick. I think you know what Rakkems is up to just by looking at your screen here. It seems like he might be in the hash lab. What are you up to right now? Are you jarring stuff up? Are you pressing? You collecting?
Yeah, I got a event to do tomorrow at the Lotus Church in Oakland, California, and just getting some buckets ready for the event. The Lotus Church is an amazing place. It's a psilocybin church, so it gives us federally protected,
yes,
which is cool, and gives us a safe place to, share our medicine with other like-minded people.
I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit more, but before you do, and while I'm in the middle of this dab, just real quick, we actually had a similar event up here in Michigan on a similar venue property. That someone had started a church, and I think it was, based on or around psilocybin or something, just psychedelics in general, maybe. And I believe he had been harassed and raided, by the local and state police, and took court, ended up winning, and now it's a similar setup from what I understand. Or he's, just kind of off doing his own thing now.
Yeah, I mean, once they decriminalized it, and specifically Oakland, it opened up the doors to a lot of potential for people to, do their thing when it comes to not only cannabis but psilocybin as well. I mean, the decriminalization of psilocybin is what I'm speaking about solely, but not there yet for cannabis totally. Yeah, as far as the federalizer.
Isn't that just strange the way that the order that these things go in?
Bro, it's so ridiculous. Like, obviously we all know. I'm sure we've all done psilocybin, correct?
Oh, I would assume so.
I mean, it's a little bit more of a setting situation experience than cannabis is.
It seems a little more of an intense situation. Well, we could get into variables there too, can't we?
Right.
But I mean, generally speaking, going in on cannabis, i.e. a dab or something like that, and going in on psilocybin, I would say are two different levels of intensity here.
Yeah, and levels of intensity and also levels of intention.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, that's for me. I mean, I do microdosing to solely just make everything a little brighter. The day, the everything around me. But when I go on a bigger dose, I'm putting an intention behind that. I'm not trying to just get fucked up. I want to have purpose behind it. But so also the cannabis, the rosin, the hash. I feel like there should be intention behind that too. Yes, you can have your recreational side. Skunk Man Sam will always preach that. Shout out to the OG Skunk Man Sam. Like, he doesn't care about the medicinal side at all. It's all about recreational to him. He just wants to get high. More power to him. But with me and how Rakkems got started, I saw the benefit. I saw what it was doing to people and for people. medicinally. So that was my intention. Like, okay, I like this. I like where this is going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing along with this. You know, it's helping people.
Man, I had a reminder, I guess we'll just say, of the medicinal effects of cannabis over, well, just after the New Year. Partied hard on New Year's. My God, drank a whole hell of a lot. Woke up the next day, was just groggy. Didn't even go into work the next day. We didn't go in until the second. And the morning of the second, I was just like, my God, I can't get back to normal here. I'm just dog tired. I'm hungry, blah, 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 blah. We took a dab that morning, and Hetty Boy was in the car with me. And I was like, dude, I've never felt like such a reset button has been pushed. You know, you would think generally that taking a dab would just put you under the bus again. And it picked me up in a way that I haven't felt picked up by cannabis in a while, honestly. And brought me back to reality. Took a couple more dabs, and I was back to talking. I mean, I was driving to work.
Body was missing it.
Yeah, I was quiet. I just wasn't talking anything. I was out of it. And then after a dab or two, I was right back into it. And I couldn't stop telling Hetty Boy about how much of a reminder it was medicinally for me, you know?
Do you know what strain or variety you had?
I was just going to ask that.
Yes, but you're going to have to give me a minute.
No problem. And I'm curious to know what
What
you're
are the
packaging
normal
up over there,
effects?
Rakkems.
What's that?
I'm curious to know what strain you're packaging up over there, too.
This one is Super Booth. Good old Super Booth.
There you go. Very popular.
I think it might have been a sample of Jungle Pie from Eden, but I'm not sure right now. I'll be right back.
So Super Boof, that's still in high demand, huh?
Yeah, out here it definitely is. It's one of the strains that my wife really enjoys to grow. I mean, it's one of our staples. It produces great flower, produces great resin, produces great rosin, has great terps. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I mean, if you don't like orange terps, it doesn't mean, you know, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. We can get into that argument if you want to. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's just an all around amazing plant. I'm able to do a lot with it when it comes to not just hash and rosin, but putting it in cartridges because with the terp profile, it expresses itself thoroughly through a cart. Putting it into edibles, gummies, and things of that nature. Honey, if I do medicated honey, you got the citrus from that. It's just amazing,
mixes
man.
in a lot of ways.
And shout out to Mobile J for not hooking me up with the cut, but the cut I have is from Mobile J.
Okay. Now
I believe he's from Michigan as well. Maybe. I think
so. Yeah. I gotta ask about one of the expressions you just said was the terp profile of Super Boof works really well in it, like it expresses itself really well in a cart. What makes it that? You know what I mean? Is there like a certain profiles that do and don't work in carts, or
Yes.
Why is it that way?
Easiest way to explain it, just from my experience. Obviously, I don't have scientific data to back this.
Hey, we're all in the lab. None of us are, you know.
Here's some bro science for you.
Yeah.
No, but it's. I mean, you think about it. I just from my personal experience with decarbing rosin or coming up to the point of decarb and not really decarbing it, just liquefying it, what have you. Over the years, I've found that certain cultivars with specific floral or potpourri or earthy profiles don't really translate well when they get exposed to more and more heat. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, every time you apply heat to it, it transforms that profile because you're off-gassing some of the more volatile ones at different rates and keeping some of the other ones. So you're changing that composition constantly. So with the cartridges, it only makes sense for me and our brand to put something in there that's gonna last through that constant reheat. Not only the heat to liquefy it, but also the heat from the hardware. because that's still an ongoing, growing part of our industry, the cart side of things for solventless specifically.
Or in your pocket or in the console or cup holder of your car. Yeah.
And that's where I kind of wanted to step in, because I knew Nick and I were going to get on this variable, which would be small scale, home scale versus the commercial market. Because at Eden, we pretty much take every cultivar that we have that we turn into rosin, and we would apply it to a cart. Because everybody's going to ask for something else. Everybody's going to fucking ask for that chem. Everybody's going to ask for that super boof. Everybody's going to ask for that Trop B. They're not going to not. So regardless of what it may do, like, again, we don't like the floral tones. We don't like the earthy tones in our carts. Some fucking do, and when you're in the commercial market, it just, everybody asks for everything. So you got to fill the fucking shelves.
Yeah, that's that. You got a point there. We have to make sure we, and when I say we as a community, distinguish whether we're talking about traditional market, legacy market, or the white market. I think that kind of gets lost in translation at times.
Big time.
Especially on podcasts, because they talking to a podcaster could be talking to a white label guy, and he's talking about all this shit, and it doesn't really correlate to a traditional legacy market person, or vice versa.
Right.
That being said, yeah, I mean, like, the reason that I say that the floral, potpourri, earthy profiles don't translate well is usually because the more that those ones get introduced to heat and get exposed to heat, whether it be through the decarbing process or the liquefying process or whatever you want to call it, it degrades it. It turns it into something that, at least for me personally, my cup of tea, I'm not a fan of. It just smells like bad.
Here's some science for you. Some terpenes will begin to evaporate off at temperatures as low as 70 degrees Fahrenheit, although most will begin to degrade, and that's the word Rakkems keeps using, at around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more, we can actually see the boiling points, some of the really common ones. At least a little bit higher. Myrcene at 330 degrees Fahrenheit, linalool at 388, pinene at 312.
They take a lot.
Yeah, but some of these are much lower. Beta caryophyllene at 246, limonene up there at 350. So yeah, it's some of them, like, so your are very volatile.
Yeah, your most volatile terpenes or your monoterpenes and things of that nature are all going to off gas around that 70 degree mark Fahrenheit, no matter what. It just is what it is. That those aren't the ones we want to consume anyways. Those are the most caustic, and those are the most harmful to our bodies and our throats and our lungs. So those ones are just out of the question. But when you get to, like, for going back to the cart conversation, with my experience, I've seen that there's the more fruitier, the more funkier. When I say funky, like maybe a mix of gas and funk, but on that realm, on that tip, sweeter profiles usually translate better. Obviously, citruses are going to be the top of the food chain when it comes to heat exposure and degradation because of that heat exposure. It's a part of the process. It happens, but it's like, why do they make cleaners with lemon profiles, or hand cleaners, or window cleaners, and they smell like lemon or citrus or something? It's because that's not only a terpene that cleans, but it's also a terpene that sticks around for a very long fucking time.
Have you ever used pure D-limonene to clean anything in your lab?
I have not.
It works so fucking good, dude.
Really? Interesting.
What's the cost difference on something like that versus?
I'll pull it up. But I mean, you tell me this: how much is a gallon of isopropyl at 91, 99%, whatever we're getting?
Here in California, almost $40.
Yeah, variables. How much are you buying at a time?
Well, let's just go with a gallon. All right.
30.
Okay, so $30 for the isopropyl, which works. It works.
Leaves residue.
Sorry, say again.
It leaves a residue if you don't clean
for
it.
sure.
We're talking 99 or 91. I was going to say
99.
Yeah. I don't have too much of a problem with residue with 99.
Not nearly as much as 91 or 70 or whatever, but even 91 is pretty
Those
awful.
freaking streaks.
Yeah, I hate using 91.
So 1 gallon
99.
of this straight up is $60. Okay. But here's the other one. Lab grade ethanol. This is what I would replace first with ISO. It's at 48. So it's only $8 more, but it's 99.98%. And it's ethanol. Oh, this actually says 100% ABV. So maybe this one's even higher. But I like this one a lot. And de-lemoning, you know what I mean? It's like, it's got a smell to it, you know, so it's going to give you just as much of a headache in the lab as this would. But you got to be careful, you know, with any of this stuff. They are flammable and toxic chemicals when concentrated like that. And so you got to make sure you're wearing gloves and whatever PPE.
Yeah, I was gonna say your PPE and ventilation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I almost fucked myself up with ISO earlier this year. I had one of my, working my bags, kind of spot cleaning them and shit, but I had maybe a gallon or so of it in a trash can. And I'd dip my bags in there, kind of just rub them together real quick and then rinse them off. But I was doing like a deep clean on all of my shit. And my lab, I mean, there's ventilation, but I just wasn't paying attention. And I had pretty much had my head in the bucket while I was doing it. And woo! Like 10, 15 minutes later, I just sit back like, holy shit, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm getting dizzy. Like, I need to breathe. Crazy. Don't do that, kids.
Nope. Yeah, ventilation is important.
Yeah, anytime we're cleaning in the lab, we open up the ventilation and really get it to clear the room.
Yeah, how are you guys' New Year's and holidays? Everybody have a good one?
Sounds like Pedro had fun.
Yeah, New Year's was a little wild. Christmas, there was I think I had 3 of them this year with different families coming in from out of state, and basically families coming in from out of state and having the Christmas here at home with my daughter. But I had a great time. I thought it was great holiday season for sure.
Good shit.
Fun here too. Lots of snow. Kids are at the right age, or the kiddo is at the right age, Santa's a lot of fun.
Sounds like Santa brought a lot of similar things between our houses with the
we are Hot Wheels out over here. It's a different world raising a boy, I'll tell you what. I raised a couple girls already, and this is a whole different.
Same boat, dude. The energy is incredible. Like by 6 months old, you're like, oh, this is a different thing. And today, I mean, he's so smart. Giving the kids a bath, right? He's got like the faucet cover, which he took off, which I'm trying to tell him not to whack his head on because he's done that, I don't know how many times. So we got a faucet cover on there, but he just takes it off. He's playing with it. His sister, who's almost 2 years older than him, but a pound less than him. That's how big this kid is. He's still 1. He's like holding it back while she's trying to grab it, and he just looks at her and just grabs her fingers and pulls them off so she can't grab it anymore. It's just like, dude, you're gonna be an unstoppable horse. This is terrifying me.
Yeah,
let's stick to Hot Wheels.
We're in the 4-wheeler, jump off everything. It's total boy. At least right now, there's snow on the ground everywhere. So outside,
6 p.m. rolls
soft.
around.
There's some
everything in the living room is a gymnastics toy or a gymnastics setup right now.
Yeah, we picked up the Chunk and the Nugget. It's play furniture.
Okay.
So they move around and can build a fort and all kinds of different crazy stuff. And it basically, we did that so that he had someplace soft to land. So it's not the dog.
All the wood all around your house behind you.
Yeah, right. And the rock fireplace and all the fun stuff he can hit.
I wanted to ask Rakkems about his tools, if he had any favorite tools, but look at that paddle behind you. You could get some whooping in with that thing. You gotta keep any kids in line. But what
I went a different way in my head with that.
Yeah.
I got one for you.
All right. I love specialized and not even unique tools, but like, oh.
Yeah, that's an old school one.
Yeah, stainless steel whisk. Like a web restaurant store.
Size of a basketball. Give you perspective. Can you imagine? I mean, I don't know if you, Paige, have you used one of these?
Yeah, I've used paddles. I don't think I've used one of those, but I've used paddles.
Oh my god, dude! Like this thing holds so much material. Sometimes ice, water, material. This thing can weigh like 20 something pounds, and if you're not like, if you don't got traps and you're not working out shoulders,
you will soon.
Like my first time doing this is like, oh my god, like it was intense.
All the hash makers have become Harvard level rowers after the first year.
Yeah, that's why Washington just the amount of the quantity is what changed me over to auto washers and whatnot.
Yeah, scaling up, right? It's kind of it's the natural progression.
And then once you get so many 5-gallon washers, you start wanting to have that stainless, and you start wanting to have more food grade and recirc and larger size.
If we're taking 95% confidence interval down there, Superior Buds, within that range, what's the mean bucket size for people still using paddles and not upgrading to like an automatic washer yet?
20 gallon, 32 gallon.
Yeah, 20 to 30.
Yeah, I've seen people with 32 and or 44s that just stay.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 44 from S9 that I still use.
Yeah, some of them are just.
How deep is your vessel there, Rakkems?
I want to say 3 feet, roughly.
Yeah, okay. 36.
It's skinnier. It's taller.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. If it was like the pure pressure vessel I have is wider and kind of short, so it's easier to get the vortex going for me. You're not fighting that volume.
That's a 20-gallon can right here. That's a 20-gallon can. It fits inside of that, so kind of gives you the perspective.
The reason I ask is because I'm curious to know, like, well, that was part of the curiosity, is like at what level most people kind of upgrade to the automatic washer. Maybe out of scalability, not necessarily like more necessity or scalability, not necessarily just laziness. You know what I mean? Because I could see a lot of people just going from 5-gallon bucket or just a 5-gallon automatic washer to whatever.
I was going to say a lot of people start with those RV washers, and that's a great place to start.
It's not these guys
at all.
Follow-up question though. These guys just
nice.
They're lined up everywhere. I love it.
My relics.
Is there a difference today, now that we're in 2025 and the tech we have, the new washers that have come out, talking automatic and stuff, how much of a difference, if any, is there in the level of quality of hash you're going to get out of a 20-gallon, professionally, we're talking someone that's been doing this for years, professionally done paddle wash versus, a 2025 washer that's probably thousands of dollars?
Holy fucking variables.
Right.
You want my honest opinion?
Yes.
It depends on the operator and how well he understands his tool.
So many variables in that, man. I start thinking
genetics,
water temperature, genetics, room temperature,
like given a perfect system on both sides.
All things.
But if you take all of that out of the equation, if you take all of those variables out of the equation, obviously your material first and foremost, your water temperature, like Pedro just mentioned, how much ice you're using, if you're using ice, if your water is already pre-chilled. You take all of that out, you still have a person operating that machine or hand paddling. It's all about them understanding what they're doing when they're paddling, or how they're operating that machine, controlling an HMI to tell that machine what to do and how to do it.
The funny thing is to throw a whole nother fucking chunk or a variable in there, I guess, if you want, is some people are starting to actually they'll use an Osprey, but they don't necessarily use the full functionality of the automatic abilities of the Osprey, i.e. they'll maybe the first wash only hand wash, hand agitate, let me say. Then the second one, maybe they'll hand agitate with the automatic assistance of something like an Osprey or a mini Osprey, generally a lower agitated or a bottom agitated versus a top, because obviously top you're going to run into machinery. So yeah, again, there's just a lot of variables because then you've got an operator, like he says, I think that's what it comes down to. Then you've got an operator utilizing both techniques in the same vessel at that point in time. For different reasons, for different pulls, for different qualities, for different
If you have the same experience level on both sides, a hand washer, the equipment operator, I feel like the equipment's come up to the point you can get the same quality. I don't think that's a very
that also depends. It also depends. It depends on the manufacturer you're getting the machinery from. Now, all these companies are designing these things that are very similar, but there are some that just are not. They're on the market that are not ready yet. I'm not going to name names.
Let's focus on the good ones. Let's talk about the good ones.
Hang on, real quick on that note. I would say, again, going back to keeping everything the same, let's keep all the temperatures and everything now the same. Let's kind of take the operator out of there. I think what it really falls down to is the ability to adjust or manipulate the agitation level, the intensity of the agitation. You know what I'm saying? And whether that's
hand washing.
Yeah, and there's where it can become limited on the manufacturer as to do I have a small enough variable, or what am I looking for? What words am I looking for?
The increments.
Thank you. And a small enough increment of control that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, is it 1,000 RPM jumps, or are you 2,500 RPMs, or are you 100?
So now, if we're minimizing the increments, I would say, or minimizing them.
One of the manufacturers told me a couple of years ago. I'll just mention them. Hashatron. I think Ben, who was one of the guys who was initially part of that company, is no longer with them, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure where he's at now, but I was talking to him, trying to figure out their system and their setup. They made the truck or the shipping container wash system. I don't know if you guys know that, Hashatron.
I was familiar with them back in the quite a while ago, but I was not.
Yeah, they're still around. They're at MJ BizCon this last year, whatnot. They still have their systems. They still have the one that can be shipped and dropped anywhere you want it. But nonetheless, I talked to Ben. I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, what's up with your systems? I'm curious." He's like, "To be honest with you, for what you do and how you do it, our system is not ready for that. Because it's not ready for you and not ready for that type of process. It's pretty much, he was saying it's ready for large scale quantity, large batch runs, CBD or whatever the fuck, hemp, but not like small batch, small quality stuff." Yeah, this is the Hashatron. Now, I'm sure their designs and their technology and their software and all that stuff has changed since then. This was quite a couple of years ago. But he told me, he's like, we're in the process of trying to mimic hand washing agitation, or at least get as close to it as possible. And also automate all the other functions that you normally have to do with your arms and shoulders and chest and back. But he was honest with me, which I really appreciated. He was like, yeah, I definitely would love to get a system in your hands, but it's just we're not there yet. And I don't want to get you something and have you, open your mouth about it and be honest and not like it.
We've talked about that before. It's good to hear a business that knows that you're not their customer and they don't try to sell you a system just to sell you a system.
No, that happens so much with this extraction stuff too.
100%.
I mean, that's most of the C1 D1 labs I've walked into. A manager, director, owner, investor, someone there has told me, this fucking guy sold me this, hundreds of thousands or $1 million worth of equipment. I don't know what the hell to do with it. Shit don't work, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, I'm sorry, man. They got everybody. They really got everybody.
They put it on a skid and told you could do it for $30K, and
good luck.
All you got to do is drop it in and plug it in, and
the good luck. That just makes me smile. Yeah.
Good luck.
What's interesting about a lot of it now is, Whistler has their new unit as well. What do
you think about that?
I love the fact that there's engineering behind it. There's fluid dynamics involved, which I loved about the low temp as well. I was bummed by the price. I'll be honest. I was a little taken aback.
What is it?
On sale for $10K right now.
For a 55 gallon?
No, for the home, the Pilot.
What size is it?
30.
10K for a 30 gallon?
That's it right there.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I love what he's done with it.
On a lot more appetizing.
Yeah, I love it.
Ouch.
This is the problem. Ouch. Like you have there's so many. I don't know I want to make sure I word this right.
I know.
There's so many. There's so many makers in this country, let alone the fucking world, that are using those 20-gallon, 5-gallon washing machines that we all know and have used ourselves. But at the same time, want to be able to scale up to something like an S9 Steelworks vessel or
minimally something not plastic.
Something a little bit more sanitary, something a little bit more professional, because they're wanting to scale up or just do better, right? And all these manufacturers are just like, yeah, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. It's like fucking hell. Like a lot of these people can't afford that shit. It's just real. Like, what do we do?
For the majority of the people watching, potentially, and not to downgrade anybody, but they're going to be doing a harvest, whether that's a little 4x4 or if that's a 16x16. They're going to be doing a harvest, and then they're going to be processing that, and then they're going to do another harvest. So they probably got somewhere between maximum of 2 months between each wash. That person doesn't need to go with the washing machine.
That's why I don't have the Mini Osprey right now.
I would 100% agree with you.
I can afford it. I'm just like, that's a waste of money to me.
Yeah, for when
I can paddle every couple months, like you said.
Yeah, if you're not washing every week, every other day, every week or whatever, then it's kind of pointless. If you're growing 3 months.
Consider this. Maybe the traditional market or the home grower is not the target market of these companies anymore.
Very true. Very true.
We were talking about like the minis though and whatnot.
Yeah.
We were talking about the home units.
But if you think about,
at least for these products.
So like doing the math though on the micro business, when you're talking only 150 plants, I still think that 150 outgrows these small washers. And I think at that point you're already in the Osprey, not the Mini Osprey. You're wanting that.
I would agree.
Labor, right? You put the upfront cost and you eliminate the labor.
Even starting to have a perpetual harvest. That's starting to look into where you're starting to look into some efficiency and larger quantities.
That's 15 to 20, 30 grand for a professional tier washroom shouldn't be out of the budget of a 150 plant micro business grow. No, $600,000 C1D1 lab maybe is, but
different story, different conversation.
Right.
But I mean, for a company, like Eden that I process for, we're washing 40 to 50 to 60,000 grams of flour a day.
Right.
So we're not going to be sitting there paddling.
And getting back to what you were saying though, I don't know who these smaller ones are targeting anymore.
Like smaller
I
as
think,
in like the home units?
well, I think that I kind of came to the conclusion that, I'm hoping that they're probably hopefully realizing that these smaller systems are definitely not going to be for your home grower, but for a legal setting, will be for be implemented in the case of wanting to run a test batch because of the large throughput that these labs or manufacturers or whatever you want to call them are having to deal with, like Pedro, for example. Yeah, you
That
watch
does
40,
make a lot
50 to
more sense.
100 you know, if it's a new strain to you, Pedro, are you going to sit there and dump 10K in a fucking thing and just run it? Or would you rather have a mini Osprey or like that 30-gallon one and run a 2,000, 3,000 grams?
Yeah, ideally, I'd like to. This is where it comes into variables. Ideally, I'd love to have a mini Osprey or something like that to work a home grade unit. But sometimes you got to convince owners as well. So a lot of times our test batches will cut into our processing numbers, and generally, I or someone has to get more hands on in running the Osprey with lower quantities, lower water, lower, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing I don't like to do with my system. With the 44-gallon, I max out around 8-9K. I could fit 10, but it's pretty much up to the brim and it's not comfortable to wash.
Yeah.
But so 8-9 is kind of my happy point. And if I get people toll processes coming in that want me to run some stuff, they might have, some of them will have like 6 or 7 strains, but it's only 2, 3, or 4,000 per batch. And it's like, guys, I'm gonna run your 2,000 gram fucking thing in one of those 20-gallon plastic washing machines because I'm not gonna waste so much water. I have to put 5 gallons of water in here before I even touch the fucking false bottom, and then I got to fill it up to above the 2,000 grams that you got. So it's just a waste of fucking water. I mean, and the unfortunate thing is I got to put it in the plastic washing machine, and that's going to rip your shit apart, and it's probably not going to give us the quality that we're looking for, but we'll get the numbers. So it's like, how do you manage that?
There's another variable you start talking about.
Working with them.
You start talking about water, the waste of water. You can easily, you're stepping up from a 5-10 gallon system to a 30 or more gallon system. If you're not recirculating your water at some point in time, you're going to run into a huge storage issue as well. And you also have to chill that stored water, or have to find a way around that, i.e. using ice or something, So just because changing the one thing, just the size of your vessel.
Got to scale everything.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. When I went from the 5-gallon washer up to the 30-gallon stainless, I had to upgrade. My 65-gallon RO reservoir was no longer enough.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So now I'm 175 gallons.
So the water recirculation thing is definitely a conversation I like to have and kind of explore a little bit more. Because of the fact of all these new systems are all kind of like, asterisking or starring the point of being able to recirculate your water. That's fucking awesome for people who have water consumption issues. Now, if you have a plethora of water, no need to fucking recirculate, because when you start talking about recirculation, we need to actually have the real conversation of water saturation. And that's the thing that I still have yet to be able to talk to with a scientist that can explain water saturation thoroughly to not only me, but to the public worldwide. But from what my understanding is, water can only hold a certain amount of solid at any given time, and it maxes out at a certain point.
Think about it like clouds.
Yeah, that being said, if you recirculate every time you wash all of your water, do you really think you're going to be pulling off heads? You're going to be collecting those heads after the 3rd, 4th, or 5th wash, et cetera, et cetera? You're not, because if you're recirculating that and you're only collecting the 40 micron bag, for example, let's even toss in the 25. Fuck it. There's shit smaller than the 25 that keeps getting broken off and into that water. Then there goes your water saturation level up every time you recirculate that. So if you don't introduce fresh water with the recirculated water at a certain percentage, you're just fighting an endless battle,
or just dump. and use the value of being able to recirc as a water saving feature kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I would never recommend, well, I would say never.
I was gonna say like recirculating like washes 3 through 5 or something.
Exactly. Dump the first one, recirc, and then wash
25%, 75%. Like just toss like that'll also heat that water is already chilled, right? It's already down to that temperature that you want it at. So if
there he goes.
Internet.
Otherwise, we've got to start
we're still there.
There you go.
He's back.
Okay. Whoa, that was weird. Like if you can't
same exact.
get your water as cold as your water that's in your vessel, and you recirculate, that'll help chill that reintroduced or that newly introduced water. Mm-hmm. So like maybe do like a 50-50 or 75-25 or 60-40, something like that.
Yeah, otherwise we start getting into conversations of doing some kind of a potential continuous recirc with some kind of a filter. We got to walk down that path. And
you guys should look into the similar tech that we used on the closed loop systems, and we called it bidirectional. Oh, you're good, man.
I think we're back.
Yeah, you're kind of in and out, but you're good right now. We use similar tech, I guess. We didn't call it recirculating; we called it bidirectional, and it was where we took basically just a valve at the bottom of the materials column and looped it back up to the top, so that by using a filter and holding back that material, you continue to recirculate or flow that solvent. I never really went down that road. Similar kind of ideology, I guess. It's like I'd rather just wash it, like soak and then flow and soak and flow a couple times rather than recirculating the same solvent, because now I have to work to keep that solvent colder while it's outside of the system or whatever. And it's easier to have it all in line, in my opinion. Now, I think that most, if not all, of the systems I've seen in C1D1 labs don't use that type of flow anymore. I suppose you could set it up, but more or less, it's going down the assembly line.
Gotcha.
Yeah, again, I think like Rex says is, if you have the water availability, then most likely recirculation isn't even a conversation, isn't even a consideration. Mm-hmm. But the minute that you start running into
there's no point
with the ability to chill and or hold water, once you start running into water restrictions, recirculation really starts to become more of an appealing thing.
So that solves the problem of a lack of water, right? But you maybe don't necessarily want to, go down that road if you don't have to. What are some of the other, like, I don't want to call it cutting corners, but like, what are some of the other ways that you can kind of, or that like commonly are used for like conserving resources, or I guess you could call it cutting corners when it comes to hash making, that you otherwise in a professionally $30,000 lab or whatever with some hands on deck wouldn't do?
I mean, you would do, whether you had in a legal setting or not, is chilled water. That's whether you're dumping a shit ton of ice in the water or you're actually got a jacketed vessel that's pre-chilling the water. Chilling your water allows you to use less ice because the ice is there. You can go back and forth with this conversation. People are going to have their arguments, and it is what it is. But originally, ice was there to break off heads. It was there as a part of the agitation process on top of chilling the water, cooling down the water. So that being said, people over the decades, now recently have noticed that if you can get your water as cold as possible, as close to freezing as possible, essentially, you don't need as much ice. The ice kind of serves no purpose in that sense. And depending on the type of ice that you're using, you can get all semantic if you want. But
that's one of the things I'm laughing about over here, because I'm like, how many discussions have we had over the years about the shape of the ice? You know what I mean? Right. But now you guys don't even want to use ice, but
No, I use a shit ton of ice
I spent a lot of money getting perfectly cubed clear ice,
right.
and then I built an entire glycol
and
loop, and now I run
filtered
iceless, and it's like that fucking machine.
No, seriously, we use a lot of ice at Eden, but here's the caveat: is we have a chiller system. We do run into a little bit of a water issue. I'm telling you, we're washing 40, 50, 60,000 grams of flour in a day. So we do have a little bit of a water issue. Who wouldn't? I mean, for Christ's sakes, especially when running it through a chiller. So we have the assistance of a chiller, but I also have a res prior to my washing res that we generally in the morning will come in and dump ice in to drop the temperature, because I think our chiller only runs, right? I think, what's that? Yeah.
Like a jockey box. Yeah.
Yeah. I think our chiller runs down to like about the 50, 49 to 48, sometimes 47, I guess, degrees, depending on how much water and how much cold water is that it's recirculating, variables. So we'll come generally in and fill that vessel with ice, and then use that to fill our other vessels and to wash and to spray and whatnot with. So we wash iceless, but we use a lot of ice.
Yeah, I'd recommend doing blocks of ice in that water reservoir versus ice. They'll last longer.
It'll last longer, but in the morning, again, in a commercial situation when you really need it to be cold now, adding ice and then adding the water, recirculating it while agitating the ice, it chills it a lot quicker.
What's your room temp
of that one? That one happens to be, again, you're talking commercial availability and whatnot, but I think that room is our cooled freeze dryer room, which is probably 50. It's got a wrap around it and whatnot, but ideally, we'd love to add another one of these and another one of these. And number one, you're dealing with space. When you're
also dealing with heat from the freeze dryers.
When you're dealing with the licensed facility, you're dealing with licensed spaces, i.e., I can't use that room because I'm not licensed to use that room. This is the MIP. This is the, you know what I'm saying? So, and then trying to convince owners, that's what we're talking about.
What's your water source, like gallon per minute type of like? I assume you have a very large.
Oh, I can't. I couldn't even answer that right now. But yeah, we do have a very large.
Yeah,
I would imagine probably, if I had to guess, just throwing it out there, probably close to 1,100 gallons a day.
Yeah,
that's the standard.
I believe they use RO for the guard and everything. So
yeah, so like the hydro one or whatever the fuck it's called, is 1,100 gallons a day. The one I have here, there's 300 gallons a day. I have a 165 gallon tank, and it takes 12 hours to fill the fucker up.
It's funny. I started with the same hydrologic that I saw on your wall. And I've since disassembled and rebuilt, and I'm running like dual RO. So the wastewater of the first RO goes to the second RO. So I double up my RO output, and I reduce my wastewater output.
That's awesome.
I'm up to 750 gallons from a 300, but I'm also doing RODI so I did DI filters.
Shout out to a Cuban grower. He gave me a wish list from Amazon to build my own RO system that will pump out 1,100 gallons a day with very minimal wastewater. Yep. And it costs less than $400.
Yeah, it's not hard to build.
The membranes cost $25.
Yep.
The hydrologic ones for the fucking 1,100 gallon fucking system cost what, $200 or $300? And if the manifold breaks, you're fucked. You have to get a whole new system. Fuck hydrologic. Fuck them for trying monopolizing the system.
I did the same route that you're talking. I'll show you a picture of mine here. But yeah, you piece it all together and you pick your filters. Like I have a large sediment, then a small sediment filter. Then I have the 2 carbon filters, double it up so that you can change, so that the first one takes all of it. The second one is really unused. But when the first one changes colors, you can swap. Do the same thing with the DI filters. It really, the output of this is so nice. And I have extremely cold groundwater, so that helps too.
Yeah, I haven't actually ordered the wish list yet, but when I do this year, I'll set it up, and if it works for me, I'll ask Cuban if I can give that out, because I just saw that comment on the screen.
Yeah, we love it. Post that shit.
But yeah, I'm working on that. That's a game changer. That's just like when he told me that and wrapped my head around that process. It's like, are you fucking serious? Like,
Yeah.
because the hydrologic was the only thing I could think of, unless you got a commercial RO system, which costs thousands of dollars. And
there was nothing in between until I went. You know what I did is I dug into the aquarium reef people, because they need 0 ppm water to do saltwater aquariums, and those people need a shitload of water at a time. And that's how I found all the information that I needed and sent me down the right path.
I gotta ask, because this has been burning in my brain for the last 15 minutes while we've been talking about water. Is there, or do you know of any limitations when it comes to not using ice and going iceless when it comes to heads breaking off on their own without that extra, we'll call it agitation of a solid in there, that we work so hard to find the perfect shape of? For example, maybe we have trichomes that are real stubby with small heads, or maybe we have trichomes that are really long with fat heads, right? I would assume the latter is going to break off a lot easier on its own. So the reason I ask that is because I fear that we, based on one thing alone, whether that be like distillate or rosin or the size of heads, just because we want to make solventless edibles or something like that, right? I fear that we start breeding in one direction or one head size or shape because of this mass like change in the technology, right? Do you notice or know of any differences that may or may not make when it comes to using ice?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I dope scope all of my material before I stop washing every time. Usually after my third or fourth wash, I start after the vessel's been fully drained and the water's been expelled out. I'll grab a little bit of material and I'll put a microscope on it and I'll check it out and see what heads are still there and what heads aren't still there. And that'll
That's a lot
dictate
of data right there.
I'll dictate whether I need to. That will dictate whether I need to continue washing or not, and also depending on how aggressive that I was washing previously, the foam that kind of percolates to the top when you're mixing and whatnot is an indication of how much resin is still left on the biomass. For me personally, I am majority iceless. I have a 44-gallon vessel. I use about 10 pounds of ice on the bottom, put my material in, 10 pounds of ice on the top, and then I fill up my water. And that's pretty much the only ice I use. I'll supplement a little bit if my water is slightly warmer than normal. If it's like the summer, I'll add a little bit of ice just to kind of keep the water at a kind of a level playing field when it comes to temperature. But I dope scope everything, and that kind of tells me that whether initially when I was going from a lot of ice like Pedro to iceless or almost iceless, I was paying attention more closely then to find just to see like how my washes were changing. I was still doing the same process, the same SOP with my way of agitating, the speed, the aggressiveness, and all of that bullshit. But the only difference, the only other variable that was happening was the fact that there was less ice in there. And I didn't see too much of a difference. I mean, to be honest with you, I got a lot cleaner of a product. The ice, in my opinion, was causing the plant material, the biomass, to break down into a smaller size that matched the micron sizes that we were trying to catch.
And that right there is such a big difference in quality of the end product, regardless of the genetics, right? If you're busting out more of that, we'll call it contaminant, right? That's just going to degrade the quality no matter how great those heads are. Yeah. So that's huge, man.
Yeah. I mean, and then you go into the line of, okay. Oh,
there
nice.
You go.
Nice.
That's the full system with 2 ROs on the top.
That's what I have on my boat. Nice.
It's easy to build, and it kicks out a shitload of RODI. And I mean, it's 100% 0 ppm water. So we did the test where we ran a tray of tap, tray of RO, and then a tray of RODI through the freeze dryer just to see. And RO is clean, but it isn't totally clean. And I noticed it with my humidifier, running the RO direct into my humidifier, and you get the white powder all over your grow room. And that got me thinking, like, how much is actually in a tray of water in my freeze dryer then? How much is in my hash? And it showed me, and I went, okay, so I'm going to add those 2 more filters because it's just a little bit. I mean, I'm starting with 125 ppm water. So I don't need all of this, but
better to have it and not need it, right?
Yep.
Amen to that.
Eliminating variables, right? I don't know what those that 125 ppms are.
Yeah, seriously. That takes a lot.
I know
to
I didn't fucking put them there.
So we are in 2025 here, and I know that Rakkems has got some things coming up based on something I was reading on your Instagram anyway. And if you want to plug some of this stuff, please do. Possibly new website, new podcasts, and some hash classes. What's up, dude? That all
Yeah, so the website should be launching here in the next month or so. We're still trying to add apparel to it and merchandise. It's going to have kind of 3 stages or 3 pages to the website. You're going to have your swaggy material, or not swaggy material, but swaggy, just swag clothing. That's kind of more in the cheaper end, lower quality stuff just for whatever, throwaway shit. Then you're going to have your merchandise, pretty much, mugs, anything we can put Rakkems logo on. Just going to just push it that way, kind of trying to figure
water bottle.
Yeah, trying to fucking figure out mailbox money for our future boat life type situation. But that being said, the other page is going to be a consulting page as well. So soon enough here, Rakkems will be tied to my consulting company, IWHP LLC. IWHP stands for Ice, Water, Heat, and Pressure. Even though I am iceless now, it's kind of a weird one, but whatever. Yeah, the website should be launching here pretty soon. I got a lot of things in the works with Rosin Evolution. Going to be coming out with a toolbox as well as a custom bag set. That'll be quote unquote Rakkems approved. Take that as you will. New micron bags are coming out to the industry here pretty soon. We're R&D in 14 different microns right now that do not coincide with the current microns that are available in the industry.
Your post the other day, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why is there
those sizes sound strange?
I'm sick and tired of us using these microns with not having any scientific backing behind them. It's bullshit. And like, I respect Marcus Bubbleman with all my heart. He has been a legend in this industry. I don't think anybody can deny that. But when he told me or made it public, I believe on his podcast, that the 73 micron was his birthday, that kind of was like, okay. Like, it's like, well, that, yeah, that didn't make sense. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, what about the rest of them? And what does this mean for us in the future? So I started really thinking about that more. And I had a lot of conversations with other bag manufacturers, other hash makers. And now I have the ability through Rosin Evolution to be able to R&D, which I have been for about the last 3 or 4 months with these new bag sets. Just playing around with the different microns. A lot of people have probably seen them as of recently. So a few of them popping up. I know Press Club has done custom bag sets or whatnot. But I'm just trying to see where the heads really lie. I mean, they're all different sizes. There's not just the 90U. There's not just 73U. Like in the 90U bag to the 120 bag, there's everything from the 90 to the 119. All different sizes, and not just 90U.
Not come out with a 69 bag, because then I'll know it's bullshit.
I'm not going to talk about the microns just yet. There are other hash makers that have, and that's all right. We're still R&Ding. So that being said, we'll come to fruition, or it'll come to fruition here soon enough. But there's that. Trying to push the consulting this year a lot more, meaning more legal lab settings, more educational seminars, my own personal educational seminars where I have like-minded speakers come up and talk that allow us to have a civil conversation and debate about our industry and the ways that we work within this industry, because we all work differently. I work differently than Pedro. I work differently than Superior. They work differently than me. But we all end up with the same result, right? Good hash, good rosin, whatever you're making. That's just how we get there is the difference. And with me, I won't ever sit here and tell any of you or the people watching that my way is the be all end all. It's not. My way works for me. My way might work for you. It might not. Some of my SOP might work for you. Maybe none of it will. But the cool thing is the people that I'm trying to put together for this future and this education are people that don't do it my way, but do it their way in the way that I respect, I guess you can say. And that's why I want them to join me. So there's people like Resin Ranch, Todd. He's really good at dry sift. He's also a really good grower. He's a really good hash maker. There's also Jen Doe on the East Coast, another great hash maker and dry sifter. Nicotee is obviously another one. Mendo Budsmith, he's a great farmer and cultivator, as well as a good hash maker. All these people that I mentioned have their own specialties in their own fields of this industry, and I want to prop those up because I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about everything when it comes to this shit. So I want to have people shoulder to shoulder, so to speak, that can help me push the knowledge that we've learned over the last, 8, 10, 15, 20 years to the people who need the help. So there's that. The educational stuff will probably happen here pretty soon. I just got to get some time to put my head up above water so I can breathe and try to figure it out. But Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe is an option. Santa Cruz is an option. Potentially Arizona, maybe Colorado. I'm not really sure yet. But yeah, Texas A&M, I've spoken to a little bit in the past. They have grants to do cultivation now, I believe, and they're working on. I believe this was about a year or two ago. Last I heard, they were working on trying to get grants to build a extraction lab. I don't know if it's hemp or whatnot, because obviously Texas is still illegal. But nonetheless, the college or university is allowing them to explore cannabis production and manufacturing. So I might have the chance to go out there and talk to them and see their facility and maybe help them out where I can, and maybe get some scientific papers written about hash making, resin production or resin isolation, and also rosin production, solventless just in general. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, more research papers are always a benefit. Just more data.
Yep. Data is key.
Love it.
Without that, we're just, blowing smoke out of our asses.
Pissing in the wind.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's about it, really. I mean, what else do I got? I mean, the classes are one thing. I've done a lot of classes with other people. I've been guest speakers on for a lot of other classes and seminars, which I'm truly grateful for. It's allowed me to kind of learn my voice. I was never a public speaker before all this happened. Never made it a point to want to be in the public eye by any means. But I'm here now, so I might as well just do what I can and use the platform that I have in front of me to help people out in any way I can. This isn't a money grab. This isn't anything about clout, any of that. I don't give a fuck about that. I can care less. But if I can help people, if I can help teach people, or I can help them get to the right people. If I don't do what they need, then that's what I'm here for.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's all about learning and sharing the knowledge that you've learned along the way. Passing it on.
I mean,
right?
the people bring up this gatekeeping shit, and it pisses me off sometimes because at the end of the day, like a lot of people frown on, oh, you're a consultant or you're this, you're that. Like, yeah, okay, well, what else do you want me to do? I got people asking for it, so yeah, I'm gonna start that shit up if it makes sense. But at the same time, we also have to understand that I've done the work. A lot of us have done the work to gain this knowledge, to understand this process. Yeah, hash making is not that fucking hard. We all know that. But there's still a way, and there's still fundamentals. This is what I preach a lot. There's fundamentals to this shit, and that's the thing that you need to understand. Without that, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And that goes for any trade. For any trade, for any manufacturing job or whatever, there's fundamentals to your job, and the little nuances come up to make your end product your own. Like, I don't want to teach people how to make my diamonds and all the way to the end so they can produce Rakkems diamonds for their shelves. No, I want them to produce diamonds the way that they see fit to make them their own, not just mimic me or copy me, or soil growing solventless Phil or Simpson solventless. Name all the people who make the diamonds. It's just
that's a different kind of gatekeeping to it, which is what I really bothers me more. It's one thing to, like, go through a decade of refining your processes and growing your philosophies and creating a brand and a business around what you're doing, and to gatekeep that knowledge, so to speak. Like, it's one thing to not share it. It's one thing to charge people to share it. Like, but what I really dislike is when people gatekeep what they consider their product, right? So say you are the one making diamonds on the market, right? And then all of a sudden everyone figures out how to make diamonds, and you're just like, no, you can. I'm the one that started the diamond trend. You can't make diamonds, right? Or I make cannabis lollipops, so you can't make cannabis lollipops. I've literally seen, heard, and watched people do that, and it's like, be more original. This is what competition is, and it's going to make you better by advancing your own thing, or maybe pivoting and creating something new. Like, don't stick there on this one product and just assume you can fly for forever on it.
I agree. Yeah. And when I say gatekeeping, I'm more talking about the whole consulting thing, just like the fact that people get all bent out of shape when you ask them to pay a fee for the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that they're asking for. I say, okay, well, this is I don't have a 9 to 5, guys. I don't have a boss to talk to or to call or any of that. I'm my own boss. I'm the one that sets my schedule. I'm the one. Me and my wife are providing for our family and our future, and the consulting specifically, hopefully, will become something more than just these little jars. I don't want to keep producing hash and rosin. I want to educate people to make their own hash and rosin, because I feel like that's my future path and such. But at the same time, I have to put a monetary value on that. I have to put a number on that, right? Otherwise, I'm working for free. And sometimes I think people don't get that, or they do, and they just want to complain because I'm withholding information, or not withholding, but charging for this information that they say, oh, well, I can just probably get it online. Well, then go and get it online.
Right. And when you come back for your yearly episode in 2026, you better not be charging us, Mr. Rakkems, for your hour or two podcast.
Never,
I do understand it, man, because
I like you guys too much.
It takes
people forget that, though. They're really paying for your time, not really the knowledge. The knowledge is there. They're paying for your time to present the knowledge. And
well, you can say that too. You can say that too. And to play devil's advocate to that, I have this T-shirt that I wear often from my my blue collar days, if you will. And it says, pay me for my experience, not my time. Now, that being said, that can be done, that can be taken different ways, right?
Right.
Because like my time is very valuable. I almost can't put a price on my time because I wear so much hats, I do so much shit, and that's fine. Everybody does. Everybody has their own shit. But for me and my companies and our brand, me and my wife specifically, I have to kind of draw a line in the sand and be like, yo, like, I
As an
like,
entrepreneur, you are every job, every time you sell that jar, you are determining your worth, and that worth is your time, right? Which is our most valuable resource. Whereas at a
yeah,
job, you're fighting maybe for that, 3, 5, whatever percent raise at the end of the year, every year, right? Not every single day, every single time you make a transaction, or every single time you get a new contract, or whatever it might be, right? That is
yeah,
determining your worth every single time. It's a lot different. And if you don't do it, someone else is going to determine that for you.
yeah. And then when it comes to these people, talking about gatekeeping, it's just like, man, like I'm not stupid. I see you doing your hustle and your way of making a living, and but you're telling me that I'm gatekeeping information. It's like, well, if you can't afford my rates, then go and do the work yourself. Go and hit up Google. Go and hit up Reddit. Go and hit up X or fucking
Like
whatever,
we all
Right.
did,
and figure it the fuck
Go
out.
find the podcast with Rakkems in it. Sit your ass down and watch for 2 hours and figure it out.
It's
I
just like,
pull up the transcript. You can get the transcript on YouTube. Do a quick search. Like
I
I
mean,
don't know.
like I spent days and weeks going through Bubble Man's Hash Church episodes to fucking just soak up all the knowledge and information I could. And then guess what? Next thing you know, I'm on his motherfucking podcast,
Mm-hmm.
like talking about the same shit I was just researching. And it's just, it was
Exactly.
wild. It's like I realized, okay, that like obviously I'm doing something right here, so I'm gonna keep going with it. But then when I get, I don't want to call them haters, but the negative people in the DMs or in on social media and shit, saying that shit, especially to me and people like me. The Bryantist is another one. He has a consulting company as well, and that's how he makes his living. That's how he pays his bills and puts food on the table. And he gets the same flack, and it's just like, fuck, man, like okay, it's simple. I'm going to say it again. If you don't want to pay the fee to learn the knowledge in a shorter amount of time and take that and run with it because you soaked it up, then go and fucking figure it out yourself. And then when you don't, and you're going to come back, guess what? I'm
It's a
charging you double.
shortcut. Yeah, it's also a shortcut being able to talk one-on-one like that with a professional that does have all that knowledge, right? Like
It
think about
answers
going
your
and sitting
questions
down with a
direct.
professor at a college to go learn about some historical event that they specialize in and wrote a dissertation on or something. You know what I mean? Like that's the time is valuable. It has value there. If it's not valuable to you, or maybe that price is not the right value, then there's going to be alternatives. I did a similar thing, Rakkems. After researching it and growing and learning on forums for years and stuff, I did nothing but lock myself in my house, and from sun up to sundown, while the closed loop system was sitting there in the corner, I did nothing but read and watch videos about the process of running a closed loop system. Shout out Brett Maverick, because I wanted to be confident enough in my skills before I even turned that thing on, right? And like everyone should do that. It doesn't matter where sometimes it does matter where the source of the information is coming from, but after you see enough sources, you should be able to start discerning, a direction to take it with your own philosophy, right?
Yeah, I mean, the sources are definitely crucial because, and what I usually tell people is like, don't just take my word for it. Do a little research, ask people, ask other makers the same questions you asked me, and then, come to your own conclusion. Like, that's just, I'm not going to say because my way is not the be all end all. There's 1,000 ways to skin this motherfucking cat.
Right.
And like, it's just not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, don't go talk to him. Like, no, go and talk to him or go and talk to her and see what they say. If, and, maybe they know something more.
Right. Get all the info and absorb it all. and come to your own conclusions because you're going to create something that's going to work with your flow. My flow is completely different than the way I started. It's adapted over the years. You know, you figure out what works. And it's a funny one. We were talking gatekeeping here, and it's funny because I'm kind of on both sides of the coin here, where like in cannabis, I don't like gatekeeping, but I'll damn sure protect my fucking IP for what I've built for the past 10 years in my factory. Like you ain't coming in there and learning. You know what? It's weird. It's like everyone wants to know how we're doing what we do, and we ain't showing anybody. Like,
yeah, I mean, like my diamonds, for example, like the diamond shit that I do, I'll in like in the classes, I'll get all the way up to the point where I have the two fractions. I have the terpene fraction and I have the THCA fraction, and I show how I melt the THCA down into a liquid and turn it into the crystalline structure, right? But once it gets to that point, I stop, because I have a certain ratio that I mix my jars back, or mix those two products back together to make the diamond jars that I posted on Instagram. That's my IP. That's my special sauce. Like that's where I separate myself from other makers. So no, I'm not going to fucking tell you how I do it and what I do with it. But if you think about it, and if you watch enough of my shit and you pay attention, like I did with other people, you might be able to figure it out. Because I'm not like,
right,
this
it's
is
there. You just have to find it.
Do the work
for you.
do the work. Do the fucking work.
SOPs are thousands of dollars. If you wanted me to lay it out for you, well, cough up thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
it comes
I
down
have
to the tools that you
I
use to package your jars, make it distinct. You know, or show a distinction of your brand, man. I've had to instruct people how just copy exactly what I'm doing, because this is like the way you're doing it makes it look different. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have a 9-page SOP from harvest to post processing. If you want to buy that, yeah, you can drop 10K into my Venmo. But I get other than that, my SOP is not 10K. By the way, it's ridiculous.
I was gonna say $1,000 a page, man.
I'm not that fucking greedy of an asshole. And it's only 9 pages because I haven't condensed it. That's how much information I got to scale it down.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you were gonna scale it up, because
no,
dude,
that's too much.
Not for an SOP, man. I gotta understand like an outline, but we're talking like seed to sale almost, right? Growing and processing, post processing. I could sit there, and I've done this before to make my own with a phone, right? And you just throughout the process, just tell the phone while it's transcribing it, tell it what you're doing, and then you can go through and honestly use something like Chat GPT or whatever to go through and organize it all for you or format it. But you could get these SOPs done pretty quickly, and then now it's a way to get each of our own individual philosophies kind of on paper in a lot quicker way than sitting down and just writing it, dude. Like trying to do that from memory, and like the things you're gonna miss. But again, I guess maybe if you're going for a concise version, you don't want to take that route. But I'm talking about like the hand placements down to that level. Like we could really get.
Yeah, I can understand that for the solvent for a C1D1 situation too, because there's a lot more shit you have to pay attention to. With solventless, specifically hash production and rosin production, it's not rocket science by any means. That being said, my SOP that I'm trying to finalize this year, hopefully in the next couple of months, is going to be kind of a generic version of how I operate, so I can implement it into any lab that I walk in really easily. Currently, I had the help of a legal lab facility here out in Davis, California, help me write it with their scientists and whatnot there, because I consulted for them, built out their lab, and pretty much taught them the way I do it here in my own setting. And then they took that and kind of ran with it and made it their own. So that's why I say my SOP is 9 pages, because it's actually for a legal lab setting currently, but it has all of their jargon for their specific ways of doing shit that I need to take out. So there's that type of stuff where I'm going to kind of make that blank so I can put in the next lab that I work with, so on and so forth. Just makes it easier for me, and also dumbs it down. Like technically, my SOP is, you know, aside from the post processing, like the different consistencies and whatnot, that's a totally different situation. But getting from harvesting, not necessarily cultivation, because that's not my strong suit. Obviously, that's my wife's. But harvesting to washing to drying to and all the prep and post prep and whatnot, clean up in between that, PPE, rosin production, everything that goes before and after that is all included in there. Then you have a different SOP for the jam tech. You have a different SOP for the diamonds, cards, edibles, so on and so forth.
Right.
So,
and you just throw this down in front of some, kid that just graduated high school. Like, they're not going to know what the hell to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of, you can't just like translate it from paper to the final product in a day, or several months.
That's why I appreciate the lab that I worked with, because they were able to help me write it with me because I don't have the biggest vocabulary. So the fact that I had people there with scientific degrees and backgrounds and whatnot, they were able to use their vocabularies and kind of broaden the terms and the way that everything is written out. And also, it's a legal document in the state of California that I can legally use and hopefully be able to transfer from state to state in a legal setting. So that was cool too. It's pretty much got like a stamp of approval on it now, which is dope.
Oh yeah,
I've ever gotten through is just like a one pager that has all my parameters. That's about all I have. My processing. That's
a good start. It's a good start, bro.
Just need to know the numbers that I never want to fucking forget.
Yeah,
too many of them.
I started with the Rolodex. I would put because I don't know if you guys were around when rosin was in coin envelopes, like BHO was, or Shatter.
Yeah.
So when rosin came around, we were using the coin envelopes just like Shatter with the PTFE or whatever it was. So I would take a piece of PTFE and take a piece of rosin, like a half gram or quarter gram, and flatten it out. And I'll put that in the sleeve of the Rolodex. And next to that, I would write like what strain it was, what the hash or what the hash yielded from the biomass, what the rosin yielded from the hash, and what the rosin yielded from the biomass. So I had all three of those yields. And then I had the aroma, the flavor, the color, which I didn't realize was going to change back then, because now it's all shit brown and destroyed. But I have actual organic little pieces on each of these Rolodex cards that I started to accumulate. It's like, I need to figure something out.
You need a better database.
Speaking of the silicone coated parchment paper type stuff, have you guys seen this yet? This is from 2016, but it says detection of polydimethyl siloxanes transferred from silicone coated parchment paper to baked goods using direct analysis and real-time mass spectrometry. Another one that kind of just goes along with this that he posted was plastic tea bags release billions of microparticles and nanoparticles in the tea. The reason I bring this up is, parchment's still commonly used. All these kind of, maybe not silicone containers, but a lot of these silicone coated type surfaces are still commonly used. We talked about isopropyl and RO systems and how there's residue left behind on both of those. I mean, how far do we have to go to keep this stuff clean? You know what I mean? Because parchment, that's got a little worrisome. Just all these microplastics that have been talked about for years now, I guess.
I mean, let's think about it though. We're putting loose resin on parchment or in parchment. We're putting rosin that has exposed to natural environment terpenes that are solvents that strip shit. So there's that. But also, if we're not literally putting the rosin or hash orally in our mouth and consuming it, we're combusting it. So we need to figure out what's happening to those nanoplastics or those plastics in general, or whatever the contamination is. What that's causing as far as a carcinogen when it's combusted at the
conversion.
Yeah.
And
of plastic.
If and then is it harmful? We just don't know. There's not enough data, not enough information out there, so we're speculating now. Not to say that it's not something that shouldn't be talked about or investigated, obviously, but I mean, it's just like the columns with the CRC and the clay and the mediums that's being used, silica. A lot of motherfucking manufacturers that won't admit it don't clean their columns the way they should, so they're getting silica residue in the fucking CRC.
Bro, I've talked about that before. Some of them don't clean them at all, man.
I know. So that being said, also we got to remember. So people will say that, oh yeah, there's silica residue in the BHO, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, well, yeah, but also, do you know that silica doesn't combust and doesn't fucking like combust until 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit?
Right.
Like, you're not ingesting that shit. It's in your fader. So get over it.
Also, did you know that CRC is used to clean up a garbage product in the first place? So you know what I mean? Like, you're probably got other things you got to worry about too. Like
there's probably way worse shit in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just using that as an example, though, like the people always want to cling to something, right? They always want to like cling to like the next fucking thing that's going to fuck them up. And it's like, guys, it's not that serious. Yeah. Like maybe in a legal setting, like once we figure out parameters and what's okay and what's not. But
OSHA will step in and give us some ppm limits or something at some point, I'm sure.
Oh, of course.
Way more things that are way more harmful.
Right? I mean, this is all coming from some people who probably still smoke fucking pack a day or fucking drink an exorbitant amount of alcohol. Like, man, just you do you, boo boo. I'll do me.
Right.
Amen, man. Well, Pedro had to go. He had to head to some family things, and from my understanding,
we don't want to keep you too long. I know you.
I know you got to work tomorrow, man. And I know how event nights go and event days and shit, man. It's
a 7-hour session. And I got to be there like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I live 2.5 hours away. So
oh shit, that's a drive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
yep.
we appreciate
you. 2.5-hour Michigan drive either.
Yeah. We appreciate you and your time and coming back and being our first guest of 2025 and sharing all the knowledge and the perspective and your experience with just making hash, man. It's great to see you fucking cranking it out while you're on the pod too.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. I've always enjoyed your guys' podcast. The fact that it's called Variables, and that is literally what we have to deal with day in, day out. Not like I can never say this enough, you know. Like, I can't give exact answers to people's questions when it comes to specific things because it's always changing. Now, if you have a specific question about a freeze dryer with the malfunction of software, or a question about water pumps or filtration and things like that, technical questions like that, yeah, I can help out. But when you get to like the bee's knees and the brass tacks of it all, you're just gonna have to fucking figure it out for yourself, guys, unless you want to drop some money into my Venmo. It's that simple. I'm sorry. I'm putting my foot down.
Well, plug where like your Instagram, website, all that kind of stuff, where we can find you after the show.
Yeah, man. But I'm pretty sure it'll be Rakkems Apparel or Rakkems.com. We also have Rakkems at IG at Rakkems, and also the Rakkems Backup. You never know when IG is going to want to fuck with you. I will be starting the X page here pretty soon to kind of switch over platforms. There's also the YouTube. There's not much on the YouTube Rakkems page. It's all older shit, but I'll be updating that soon. Potentially going to start a Patreon page where people can literally just watch me wash, or I'll do seminar videos and put those up. My seminars, I hope, we'll be able to do a live stream for people who can't make it from all over the world. That'll probably be put through Patreon as well. The seminar information will probably come out here soon. I'm still kind of building and working on the curriculum. I want to be able to present somebody with not necessarily like a diploma, but some type of certificate that just says, yeah, these people or this crew or these like-minded folks gave this person the knowledge so they can take this back to a future employer and be like, yeah, you know, look these people up. This is who I learned from. So on and so forth.
Approved.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I don't want to. It is Rakkems approved, but I don't want to sit here and like act like I'm trying to blow smoke up people's asses. I'm not, but I'm just trying to help people and to push the culture and also our new school way of thinking when it comes to loose resin and rosin, and how we operate. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
consulting company will come to fruition here soon. It's IWHP LLC. I do have an Instagram, but there's no activity on it. If everybody,
I have
anybody
a
wants to
note
give
for
me
you on that name. So if you are going iceless, you can still use IW. Shit, what was it?
IWHP.
IWHP. You can still use that acronym or whatever, but instead of ice, just change it to icy water.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much about it, man. And obviously the boat's the future. So there's potential to see a lot less Rakkems on social media and Rakkems jars unless I get licensed somehow, which it has been in the works and in talks. But yeah, I want to stop producing the product and start helping people produce the product.
Cool.
Ethically and morally, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Understandable, man. Well,
Keep
cheers, Rakkems.
Teach the next generation.
Yep, got to keep it going. Let those secrets
I will
out.
try to do my part.
One Venmo payment at a time. Cheers, guys. You can find us streaming everywhere every Friday night at 11 p.m. on YouTube, X, and Twitch, and after the show on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. Until next week, guys. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Bless.